Hello everybody, welcome to Whatever Floats Your Boat, and today is going to be a book review of Philip Pullman's Northern Lights. This book was published in 1995. It was a huge international bestseller. It won the Carnegie Medal Award for British Children's Literature and the Guardian Children's Literature Award as well. It has its trilogy. Is it a trilogy? I think so. And it was also made into a movie called The Golden Compass, which was not doing very well and therefore was not taken into part 2 and 3. But yes, so I'm reading this at the moment, and I have to say, and this is going to be about spoilers as well, so just so you know, because, well, I have to comment on the plot, so therefore, spoiler alert. I have to say I'm quite disappointed by it, I have to be honest. When I bought it, I thought it would be amazing because it has won so many awards. It is like one of the big names in British children's literature of the last 20 years, and actually, well, yeah, 20 years, more than 20 years. And yeah, I have to say I'm really disappointed by it. I really am. I think it is well written. I give him that. I think Pullman has a huge, he uses a plethora of beautiful vocabulary. He fashions beautiful sentences, nothing wrong with that. So in terms of form, it is really good. In terms of content, I think it lacks on all ends, and I really don't know how it could win so many awards. First of all, the main character Lyra is one of the most unlikable characters that I've ever met in literature. I really can't make myself like her. She's a complete pain in the neck. She's egocentric. She's selfish. She's I'm not even sure if she's really human from the way she responds to things. So it's just a very awkward choice for a protagonist, because I don't care about her at all. I don't care. Like, if she died in the next page, I wouldn't care. I'd probably be happy. And I think that is not a good sign for a main character. And I'm not saying all characters have to be likable. I mean, obviously, if you look at books like The Secret Garden, you can, start off with a quite unmannered and egocentric character that grows into something. But with Lyra, I just don't click with her at all. I think she's horrible, and I don't care about her. But I have to say that I genuinely don't care about the characters in the book, which I think is very odd. It's really odd. I feel like I feel like it's written in a way that keeps you distant from the book. It's really like the book is written in a way that you can't delve into it, which I think is very awkward. So I'm basically at the end of the book now, and I don't care about any of the characters. I really don't. I couldn't care less. Like, when Miss Coulter arrives on scene, I don't feel any resentment or hatred. It's a bit like, I don't know, it's a bit written as if you as the reader were sort in a bird-like perspective, and you're just observing it from the top, but you don't really care about what happens. It's just a bit observing, like, oh, this character goes here now, oh, now Miss Coulter is coming, and things, but you don't feel anything, which is, I don't think it's a good sign at all. So I'm really struggling to understand why this was like a global bestseller, because I don't think it's well written in terms of human experience. For example, and this is a spoiler alert now again, quite early in the book, actually, within the first quarter of the book, Lyra is told that her uncle Azrael is her father, and that Mrs. Coulter, the woman who's just run away from, is her mother. And there is no response from Lyra to that. I read it and I was like, what the hell? Why does she not react to that? It's really like, I don't know, John Farr, the king of the Egyptians, or the leader of the Egyptians, who are like, well, Egyptians, like gypsies, basically. He tells her that, and he says, well, you know, Lord Asriel is your father. And also the telling, it should have been like a huge reveal, and it's just like plonked down there, and you're like, ah, okay. But it doesn't excite you, at least it didn't excite me. It doesn't do anything with you or with me. And then what actually literally it says in the book, it says, Lyra could only sit in wonder. I mean, if you thought that your parents were dead for the past 12 years and you've grown up an orphan, and then you realise that a person who's repeatedly visited you is actually your father, I think the response would be a bit different than just sitting around in wonder. I mean, I sit around in wonder when I'm matched with a completely moronic student who doesn't get a sentence straight, and I sit in wonder wondering how they cannot trip, like, I don't know, how they cannot stumble upon their stupidity every day. But, I mean, that's such a weird reaction. And then John Farr just goes on explaining for 3 pages how it came about that she ended up in Jordan College. But there's no description in between of Lyra's feelings, of how she responds to it, what is going, like, there's nothing like, I don't know, her blood just went cold, or Lyra was so shocked. Did she hear correctly? Could this be true? Or anything. It was just it was just a bit like as if she was like, oh, never thought about that. It's such a weird. I was like, Philip Pullman, have you ever met a human being? Like, have you ever conversed with humans? Because I'm not sure if you know how human beings function and how they would react to such news, because it's such an awkward reaction, I think, and it's not believable at all. So that I was highly disappointed by that. And then the next chapter opens after this revelation, and it's like, you know, it's like an attempt to make her sort of confused and things about this. It's a bit like, yeah, I can't, you know, Lord Asriel being her father was one thing, but Mrs. Coulter being her mother was an entirely different thing. And I'm like, that's it? I mean, you know, that is not a lot of sort of emotion going on. It's just an observation. And then actually it really jumps to the next paragraph saying, being Lyra, she didn't bother with it too much because there was a city to explore and there were Egyptian children to amaze. And she tells the children stories about, like, lies about her newly acquired father, who was highly acclaimed in exploring, and no one would react like that. It's so stupid. It's like, seriously, and it makes you dislike Lyra even more, because why does she react this way? It's just not believable at all. And I'm really highly disappointed. I also think that the whole world is not described in the detail that I would have liked it to be described. It is just, you know, they just throw in terms and you have no clue what it means. And then it's kind of never explained. And it's just, I don't know, it just feels very lazy. Very lazy. And also, like, there are a lot of cliches employed, and they're employed really poorly. Like, sometimes I actually felt mocked by Philip Pullman. I was like, can't you do any better than this? For example, when Lyra has to go with Mrs. Coulter to London, and the master of Jordan College calls her in early in the morning before they leave, and to give her the alethiometer, or whatever it's called. And, you know, it's like this cliche, old man gives something to the chosen one, and then before giving the final, like, important piece of information, you know, something happens and the child doesn't get the crucial piece of information, has to figure it out by her or himself. So that's a cliche in itself. But the reason... So what happens is Lyra is in this room with the master, and the master wants to tell her something about Lord Asriel. And then there's a knock on the door. A knock on the door. prevents the master to give the student crucial information that may change the world forever. And I'm like, seriously, have him killed, or I don't know, have Mrs. Coulter barge in, have a real reason why you can't give this information, but a knock on the door? Seriously? I mean, that's just lazy. That is really lazy, and I really felt ridiculed. So sadly, I can't recommend this book at all. Well, not at all. If you like beautifully fashioned sentences that go on over pages, that's the book for you. If you like completely unlikable characters, that's the book for you. If you like heavy foreshadowing permanently employed by the author, that's a book for you, because that is what Philip Pullman seems to love doing. He permanently writes, but Lyra wasn't going to learn about this for the next ensuing months. Or, but Lyra didn't know that the Egyptians actually had another reason to keep her. And it's like, dude, it's not, it's just killing suspense. It's not creating any suspense, especially because I give about Lyra. I really do. I give a full-on shit about her. I really do. So I don't care if they want to slaughter her, eat her. You know, as long as you don't make me care about the character, you can't have me in suspense, because I don't care. So yeah, sadly, Philip Pullman, Northern Lights, negative book review today. Oh, here it says, a best-selling, award-winning masterpiece by one of the greatest storytellers of all time. So you can believe that, or you can believe me. It's up to you. Probably just read it yourself and let me know what you thought. But I think it's a waste of time. Read The Weight of Water or Lemony Snicket's Series of Unfortunate Events. It's much more fun. All right, thank you so much. And if you disagree or if you agree, just let me know. And as I said, it's obviously nothing personal. It's just my opinion.